Okay, great. Now let's just contrast that real quickly to 7. For the moment, let's forget this vav, okay? I just want you to look at nusabotha. This is very close to sabothum. Do you see what's similar? The holem vav after the doubled bet. All right? But I have ta instead of tu. So which form is this with that ta? Yeah, that's perfect 2ms, right? But now look, I've got a noon prefix. So what am I looking at if this is the perfect and I have a noon in front of root 1? It's got to be nifal, right? Okay, so it's nifal perfect 2ms. Just looking at this form with nothing in front of it. Okay, now we have a vav here, don't we? And so the assumption here is that this is not just a nifal perfect, but a WCP form. Okay. And then Ross would call this a nifal perfect plus vav consecutive, right? Isn't that his term? Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyhow, yeah, I call it WCP or Vukatal. Yeah. The Dagesh in root 1, right here. Yeah, well, Savav doesn't have a Dagesh in root 1, right? Its roots 2 and 3 are doubled, so we do have the Dagesh in the bet. Yeah, the nifal perfect form is normally for Savav na sav, like this. Okay, so normally it's open and long when I have stress on the next syllable, na sav, but when I add syllables due to the inflectional endings, this is going to reduce to the vocal shava. All right, but there is no Dagesh forte in the nifal perfect of Savav. In the imperfect nifal, there will be. So, Yesav. So, number 19. So, we have Heikalu. How many consonants do we see here? Well, literally, we should see 3, right? Are those your 3 root letters? Hey, Kof, Lamed? I mean, theoretically, they could be, right? But if the Hay's a prefix, then where does root 1 start? Yeah, with the Kof. So let's consider that for a moment here. If that's a prefix Hay, then Kof, Lamed, root 1 and 2. Where's root 3? Yeah, it's also the Lamed because this Lamed has a Dagesh forte, so that's a doubled Lamed, isn't it? So my lexical form would appear to be Kalal. And if that's the case, then the Hay must be a prefix Hay for one of the stems. Okay, does that make sense? All right, now with that in mind, I have a shurik at the end. That's a personal ending. Where do I find shurik as a personal ending anywhere in my conjugation patterns? If you go to the inflectional boxes handout, where do you see shuriks? Perfect what? 3 CPs or imperatives, 2 MP. And then if it were an imperfect, it could be a couple of things, but there aren't any nutty prefixes before this, so I can eliminate the imperfect possibilities, right? Okay, great. So the question I need to ask myself is, which stems have the Hay prefix, and where do I get what vowel class is the Sere here? It's an I-class vowel. So where am I looking for I-class vowels under Hay? Which stem never gets I-class vowels under their Hay? Hofals. Hofols have hays, but never I class under them. Okay, so this is either, which other two stems can get a hay prefix as part of their stem? Nifals and Hifils. And notice ni, hi, those can take I class vowels, can't they? All right. When my Nifal has an I class vowel, has a hay prefix, what am I expecting to see with its vowel pointing? Okay, yeah, so we can see Dagesh forte. We could have I class, but a Dagesh forte where? In the first root letter. This has an I class, but no Dagesh forte. So which of the stems does that in the geminate verbs? This is the Hifil, okay? If it's Hifil, then the next question is, which of these two possibilities is going to have the Hifil having an I class vowel there? What's that? Yeah, the perfect would get an I class here, right? So Hifil perfect 3CP? Yeah, so did I not have that in my answer key? What did I do? My answer key might be mistaken. Let's see, what number was this? Number 19. I put Cal Perfect 3CP. Maybe you were looking there. Okay, and I have a note here. Let me just make sure there's nothing here that I need to know. Yeah, there it is. So this form occurs in Ezekiel 22:7. You are making me nervous. So we're not going with the imperative here. All right, this is the Hifil perfect 3CP. Okay, good. What does kalal mean? Exactly, to minimize, make light of, to treat as insignificant. That sort of idea. To basically treat contemptuously. Other questions?
When you look in on 554.
554. Yeah. Oh, okay. Back in the paradigms?
In the paradigm, it has a setting for that 3CP.
Yeah, so you're looking here.
Yeah, we've got a hot dog.
So in my footnote here, I note here this is a little bit unusual in that the Hifil perfect form shows alternation of the theme vowel between the expected I class of the Hifil, which is what you're saying, the Sere is what you would have expected, and the unexpected A class. So kalal occurs 3 times in the Hifil perfect. Twice the theme vowel is A class, Heikal and Heikalu, once it's I class. Hekilothani. Here it has a pronominal suffix, reduction of the vowel pointing, but there's a kirik here which represents an I class vowel before that lamed. So we do see both. It only happens 3 times in the perfect conjugation, so we don't really have a lot to go on there. All right. Other questions? Let's look at number 4. We have yamodu. Yamodu. So when you see a form like that, is there anything that you could bracket out and say, those are personal endings or prefixes and suffixes that I know that are part of indicating the subject? Yeah, the yod prefix and the shurik suffix, those are part of which person and number and which conjugation pattern? Well, forget the stem. I'm just thinking in terms of person, gender, number. So imperfect. Yod is always what gender? Masculine. So in third person too. 3M with the shurik. P without the shurik. Singular. Right? Okay. So just by knowing your inflectional boxes and the prefixes and suffixes, you've got almost all the parsing done. Glory, glory, glory. All you're left with now is the core of the verb, which has a mem and a dalet, which are only 2 root letters. Might this be hollow? Might this be a geminate verb where roots 2 and 3 are the same? Well, what's the clue here? That doubling dot in the dalet. So this is not just mood or mod, it's madad. Okay? Yeah. Who's your daddy? Okay, so madad. What does madad mean? To measure in the cal, to measure. All right. Now look at what you've got. So your yod prefix gets a long vowel because that's just what you do when you collapse 3 root letters into 2. Normally the prefix would have been closing with root 1, but here root 1 has to hang out with root 2, and the prefix is all by itself, so it's open and long. Okay? And usually you're going to see A-class vowels here. But what you want to focus on is that holum. What vowel class is holum? It's U class. And so which stem in the cal imperfect, which stem in the imperfect with these geminate nouns, verbs, like a holum here? Yeah, the cal. Okay? And let's just review the weak verb paradigms here just for fun, okay? We have yasov. When I have the prefix yod with the long vowel, the long A, holum is my theme vowel. And what did I say? Imperfect 3MP, right? So look at the cal imperfect 3MP. I have yasobu. Does that look like what I just saw? Yamodu, except I have mem and dalet instead of samik and bet here, right? So we have definitely a match here. Now, if you were thinking, well, maybe it's a different stem. Well, here's the stative verb for kalal. It doesn't look like that. Here's the nifal imperfect, yasabu. There's no holum over here. Here's the hifil and the hofal, none of which match the vowel pattern that we have. We don't see any holum theme vowels over here. So this is the only one that's a match for our verb form, yamodu. So this is a cal imperfect and 3MP. So how will we translate yamodu? They will measure. They will measure. All right? Now, with that in mind, okay, so we've got that. Look at va tamodi. Number 2, va tamodi. That's almost like yamodu, right? Same nutty prefix, different nutty prefixes, but the same vowel pointing, the same holum between roots 1 and 2, the same dagesh forte, but just a kyric yod. When I have a prefix tav on the front and a kyric yod on the back side, which conjugation's person, gender, number is that? Okay, yeah, so this is characteristic of an imperfect 2FS, right? But look at what I've got here. And by the way, with all of the vowel pointings, we know this is cal, because we just figured that out with yamodu, right? Yamodu, tamodi. But this is not just an imperfect, is it? I've got this vav, pathak, dagesh forte in the nutty prefix. So this is a cal what? A cal WCI form or a cal vayiktal form. And that makes it what time frame? Past. And the subject's no longer they, like yamodu, but you. So how are we going to translate this? You woman, you measured. Past time. That's right. Very good. Does that make sense? Number 1. Okay, very good. Let's look at number 1. We have a problem here on number 1 just with even knowing how to pronounce this little sucker, right? How do you pronounce that little symbol that looks like a T under the chet? Is that a kametz or a kametz chatuv? What do we got going here? I thought I heard closed. This is that a closed syllable here? What kind of dot is this in the noon? Yes, that is a dagesh forte. Absolutely. Which means that if I'm dividing here, I gotta grab that dot. And that means, remember, anytime you have a dagesh forte to the right, I can put what for the syllable structure? Closed. Where's the stress? Is the stress on the right side of this little doohickey here? No. So this is pre-tonic, which means it's closed and unaccented. Gotta follow the good old cuss rule, right? So is that long or short? It's gotta be short. So this is the short O. It's chon. Choneni. Choneni. Okay? We all good? Stretch the gray matter there. Working the old gray cells. Okay. So, let me get rid of that now. So, what have I got if I have this any ending here? What's any doing? This goes back to chapter 24. What's this ni ending? Yep. That is a pronominal suffix. Which pronominal suffix is that? That's 1CS. Okay, great. So this is a pronominal suffix here, okay? So that means that if I strip that away, all I have left is a chet, nun, and what did we say that dot was there? That's a dagesh forte. So what might I have for my root letters? That nun's doubled. Yeah, Hanan. Okay, so this nun here, the second nun you see, that's not the second nun of Hanan. That's part of the 1CS pronoun. So don't get that mixed up, okay? It's not to be confused here. So chet, nun, nun. This nun is representing both of these here, okay? So what does Hanan mean? Yeah, to be gracious, right? To be gracious, to show grace to someone or show favor, to favor someone, okay? So look at this. This is some kind of a verb with a 1CS pronominal suffix. Now, this is a sere, which is an I-class vowel, okay? What did we learn about attaching pronominal suffixes to a verb where you use an I-class helping vowel? Where do we see that? Is that more of the perfect conjugation using that I-class helping vowel, or is it the imperfect and imperatives that use the I-class helping vowel? The imperfect, and since the imperatives use the imperfect pointing system, just chop off the prefix, then the imperatives do the same thing, okay? So is this an imperfect? Choneni. What do all Hebrew imperfects have? They have a nutty prefix. Do you see any nutty prefix, you nuts? No. There's no nutty prefix here, right? So it's looking imperfect on the back side, but there's no nutty prefix. So I'm going to guess that this must be an imperative with no ending, because I need that helping vowel to connect me to the direct object pronoun. So this is an imperative to MS plus that 1CS suffix. Okay? Here's the question. which of my stems in the imperative have no prefixing and use, that's a U class vowel here, right? Which stem does that? What's that? Right, but here's the deal, okay? You go back to your principal part sheet and you look at all your imperative forms for all the stems. How many of the stems have no prefix at all for the imperative? There's only 3. Cal, PL, and Pual. Okay? All of the other stems have a prefix with their imperative. The Nifal has a hey, the Hifil has a hey, the Hofal has a hey, the Hithpile has a hey. Okay? You got your principal parts sheet handy? Do you see that? Okay? So only those 3. Now, what you have to do now then is ask yourself, if Hanan occurs in, say, the PL and Pual, what would its pattern be? What we learned in the lesson was when these geminate verbs use the PL or the Pual, they behave very regularly. Halal was the verb that we saw that was used. And what would its imperative look like in the PL? Well, the imperfect would be y halal with doubling in root 2, right? Y halal. The imperative would be chop off the prefix, and it would be, oops, there was a sorry there, would be halal. Halal. So what would the PL imperative of Hanan be? It would be ha nain, right? Is that what we have here? No, don't have that, right? What about the Pual? What would that look like if this were the Pual imperative? Well, again, taking halal and using that as our example, the imperfect Pual would be y, hu. Remember, it uses the kibbutz, doubling dot in the root 2, and then it's got a pathak, yehulal, like yefukad. Okay? If I were to create an imperative out of that, chop off the prefix, and I'm left with hulal. So what would Hanan's Pual imperative form be if we could create one? It would be your favorite Chinese food, Hunan, right? Hunan. Okay, none of those match this. So we're going to I'm just walking you through reasoning through this. That's not going to work here. What about the cal? That's really what we're left with. And does the cal of stative verbs have a U-class vowel between the first root letter and the second and third root letters that are often going to collapse into one? Well, what's that? Yeah, the answer is yes. So what would the cal imperfect of, say, savav be, which is the paradigm verb we're using? It would be ya sov, right? Ya sov. And there is a doubling dot here that wants to drop inside the bet because there really should be 2 bets here. Okay? I create the imperative to a mess by dropping the prefix, and I'm left with sov. But then when I add the any part, what's going to happen to my bet? It's going to double, okay? And then where's the accent going to be? When I add my pronominal suffix, the accent's going to step back. It's going to go from sov to the bet, soveni, so beni. And then that holum's going to be closed and unaccented syllable. And so I'm going to have to get rid of the holum and put a short U-class vowel, which is the kametz ketuf. So it would be sobeni, sobeni. And I have choneni. You see how those are the same thing, just different root letters. Okay? So this is a command in the cal. to someone to be gracious to me. So be gracious to me, favor me. That sort of idea. This is the kind of language that's used in the Psalms, like when David is confessing his sin and he says, be gracious to me, O Lord, according to your loving kindness. Choneni. Choneni. Okay. The Cal imperfect of Hanan would have been Yahon. Yahon. Chop off the prefix, chon. Add the pronominal suffix, choneni. Okay? All right.
If it had been a Cal imperfect or Cal infinitive construct with a 1CS, wouldn't the vowels have changed the same way?
Well, okay, so what you often will see, I'm not going to say it's absolutely impossible that you would see the shortening here to a Kametz Ketuf, but what we learned was, so for the Cal infinitive construct, that would be sov, and when you add the pronominal suffixes here on the back side, again, you're going to get your doubling dot in the bet. You're going to have a Dagesh forte, and this will be closed and unaccented because the stress is going to move farther back. What this will do with the infinitive constructs is typically we'll go to the kibbutz. So we would get a kibbutz here with our doubling dot, sub, and then we would get a pronominal suffix here. Now, the first common singular pronominal suffix that I attach to nouns and infinitives construct is actually just the Kirik Yod. The ani that's the direct object pronoun. This is the typical pronoun added to nouns. So it's my act of savaving. Okay, so it'd be subi. So with chet it would be chuni. Just put a chet and a doubled nun here. That makes sense?
Yes.
I'm not asking you if you like it. I'm just asking if it makes sense. I know all these vowel points seem tedious. The important thing, though, is to remember that either way, whether you're looking at the imperfect yasov from savav, or the infinitive construct sov, or the imperative sov, you're dealing with U-class vowels in all those situations, which is what you typically expect for the Cal imperfects and imperatives with regular verbs too, and usually with the infinitive construct also. Okay, other questions?